Hey Liz, have you ever read that chapter on pins and entrapments in the River Rescue Manual?
Yeah, I have. It's such a crucial topic. They cover all sorts of scenarios where paddlers can get trapped, both in and out of their boats.
Right, like stranded victims, brooches, vertical pins, foot entrapments, strainers, and even swimmers trapped under a raft. Each situation is unique but follows a basic pattern to handle it: assess the situation, stabilize it, and then extract the victim.
Exactly. The first step, assessing the situation, is critical. Rescuers need to consider hazards for themselves, whether the situation is stable or unstable, water levels, time of day, and any downstream dangers.
Yeah, like if water levels are rising or falling. Time of day is particularly important because darkness can make rescues more difficult and hazardous. The manual also stresses considering downstream hazards to protect both the victims and rescuers.
And the quickest and safest way to get to the victim is essential too. Sometimes it's about self-rescue, access from the bank, by boat, wading, or swimming. The manual mentions that the technique used should be the one that involves the least risk to the rescuers.
Absolutely. Then comes stabilizing the situation. The goal is to ensure the victim can breathe and prevent the situation from worsening. They list methods like direct contact, line pulls, and snag lines.
Right, and direct contact often means using the very obstacle that caused the problem to access the victim. For instance, a rescuer can break out behind the obstacle and support the victim to keep their head above water.
And line pulls are useful when direct contact isn't possible. A line can be lowered, thrown, or floated to the victim. They can hold onto it for support or clip into a harness. The manual also suggests tying a loop in the line or attaching a carabiner for easier handling by the victim.
Tag lines are another method. If the victim is midstream and needs support, a line is held across the river and dragged upstream until it catches the victim. It can be pulled tight enough to support them, or tied off if the rescuers need to move on to the extraction phase.
Speaking of extraction, it really depends on the situation. The manual suggests lateral thinking, like pulling the victim in the right direction, freeing the boat, cutting webbing or lines, or even cutting the boat or removing the obstacle causing the problem.
It's also vital to plan for what happens once the victim is freed. You don't want them to float into more danger after being extracted.
Exactly. For stranded victims, often it's best to return the boat and equipment to them. They might use a throw line or a tension diagonal to move people across a fast current in a controlled manner.
For brooches, where a boat is caught sideways, a rescuer can often access the victim via the eddy formed behind the obstruction. Sometimes, lifting one end of the boat over the obstacle or even cutting the boat might be necessary.
Rafts present their own challenges. If a raft wraps around an obstacle, moving the raft might require cutting straps or even the raft itself. The manual mentions scenarios where the raft guide might need to evacuate the raft and account for all the crew.
For vertical pins, which mainly involve kayaks, the goal is often to get a line to the boater so they can exit safely. Sometimes a line can be threaded through the stern end grab and pulled to free the boat.
Foot entrapments are especially dangerous. The manual emphasizes keeping feet and hands on the surface to avoid getting caught. If a foot gets trapped, techniques like using a tag line, rescue swimmer, or snag line might be employed.
They also discuss the two-line pull and cinch methods to change the direction of pull or to secure a line around a victim for better control. A two-point tethered rescuer can help create an eddy with their body to reduce pressure on the victim.
And signals are crucial in these scenarios to ensure clear communication among rescuers. For instance, having a rescuer downstream to relay signals to those handling the lines.
A two-point tethered raft can also provide a stable platform for rescuers, though it doesn't reduce the current's force on the victim as effectively as a tethered rescuer might.
When there's access from one bank only, methods like handrails or one-bank tag or cinch lines can be used. A strong swimmer method involves a rescuer swimming around the victim to loop a line.
For swimmer entrapments, the manual emphasizes trying to reach the victim with a boat or paddle and using techniques like the bow rescue or T-rescue to free them.
They also mention the importance of protecting rescuers. Using techniques like belaying or tethering rescuers can help manage the risks. They even cover using pulleys and mechanical advantage systems to apply force when freeing trapped boats or victims.
And don't forget about the post-rescue phase. They talk about the importance of managing shock and hypothermia in victims, ensuring they receive proper medical attention, and debriefing the rescue team to learn from the experience.
The manual provides so much detail, but the key takeaway is that each situation requires quick thinking, clear communication, and the safest possible approach for both the victim and the rescuers.
Definitely. It's about being prepared and having the knowledge to handle these emergencies efficiently.